Welcome, everybody. We're here at the Rope-a-Dope Room in East Philadelphia for another episode of 21 Soul. And I'm here with...
Cully.
Mike LeBombard.
Joe Piñata.
Cody Davies.
Anthony Berman.
Bright Dog Red. Welcome. First question for anybody who wants to field it is, how many times has somebody said Big Dog Red?
It's like I get Bright Red Dog once a week.
And Big Dog Red. And first time we played Berkeley, the professor introduced us, said, I'm introducing this band that I heard yesterday, and I don't know how to describe the music, so I'm just going to say this. I went home after hearing them yesterday. I said to my assistant, I just saw Joe's band. And she said, what's the name? And he said, Bright Dog Red. And she said, you mean Bright Red Dog? And he said, no. And she said, what does it sound like? He said, it sounds like this conversation.
There you go. So is it worth talking about how did you come up with Bright Dog Red? Is it intentionally juxtaposed?
Yes. Well, no. I mean, I saw a guy in a Clifford costume. Mm-hmm. And I said, look at the Bright Dog Red. It was just one of those things where your brain doesn't, flip syntax for whatever reason. And I liked the way it sounded. And I was having sessions with students that sort of gave birth to this band. And one of the things we would do is we'd improvise, and they were always really worried about making mistakes. But sometimes mistakes lead to something really interesting or unanticipated. So the idea was, Bright Dog Red kind of encapsulates that.
It does.
And that became... We started calling it the Bright Dog Red Jam Sessions, and then it became the Bright Dog Red Recordings, because we recorded some of them, and eventually became this group.
Beautiful. So a lot of groups have fairly similar stories about how they got together, but I'd like to break down yours. So let's talk a little bit about your background in music.
Sure.
First. So
I'm drummer, composer, professor of music at State University of New York, Oneonta, and my areas of interest and sort of activity have been improvised music, composition, how do you structure improvisation, how do you work with improvising musicians if you're a composer, and my training was kind of coming out of the jazz tradition, but I'm not a jazz traditionalist by any stretch of the imagination, but I studied drums with Max Roach, the great Sal Rocca, who's a really well-known drum teacher in New Jersey. And so I sort of have the technique of a jazz drummer, and that's kind of the language I'm using. But when I was studying with Max, he really pushed me to think compositionally and to think about how to from behind a drum kit, drive a band. And so that was always the way I approached drumming. And Max encouraged me to study with Yusef Lateef. They both taught at University of Massachusetts, where I was a student. And I studied composition with Yusef Lateef, and it was always focused on, working with improvising musicians and how do you give them structure and concepts within which to improvise. So that's kind of my background. And as a professor, I tried to work my students using very similar themes.
So everyone in the band is or has been a student?
Yeah, everybody here today.
At SUNY? Yeah. Gotcha. What's it like? What was it like first day going to that class?
I think Joe was probably the most, when you first see him, the most intimidating professor in the music industry program. Because then there's other guys that are more like the stereotype jazzer sort of thing. Like, hey man, how you doing? Let's go jam.
Yeah.
But then as soon as
the things you learned.
I'm hit.
Yeah. But I don't even know. We didn't play too much. I wasn't in your ensembles. But I would always I would always come by and sit in with the ensembles that he led, and it was always very inviting and very like all the best players that I would hang out with at Oneonta were always playing with him, and it was sort of like this feeling of there's great direction without direction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like great leadership without necessarily like saying do this, do that,
micromanaging or
following.
So they're different generations here, right? So you guys all
I don't think we went at the same time at all. Maybe Cully and
me and Cully were in college at the same time.
Maybe for a semester, a year overlap.
Really, is that it?
I think it was it. Yeah.
No, I remember running into you at parties. All right. Well,
all right. So let's talk about parties now.
The party gauge.
I wasn't at any of those parties. That's basically the line you should.
I remember how I met Joe, and like I think about how my whole life kind of comes down to this T-shirt I wore. Because like my first, I move away to Oneonta, go away to school, don't know anybody. I'm like, I'm gonna put up a flag, see if anyone sees it. So I wore this Bad Plus shirt the first day of school, and I didn't know I was in the teachers' lounge because I was just bright-eyed student, and Joe just came up to me so calmly like, "You like the Bad Plus? You should come to jam band tryouts," and changed my life.
Nice. So. Just as a point of connection, we printed that T-shirt.
Oh no!
Full circle, perfect circle, right?
There you
go.
Cully, how about you?
I definitely would say, the all-black get-up is a bit intimidating at first.
Is that a staple? That's regular?
Absolutely.
That's every single time.
His
he
new car is
exists.
also black and black. So.
That's all I can say.
But no, once you talk to him, and again, what Mike said, good creative direction without overbearing, authoritarian, sort of telling you what to do. And I mostly come from a freestyle background, so the whole improv thing was perfect for me.
Nice.
One thing I want to add though is because like we're saying how like you might be it was like an overbearing or intimidating thing, but like Joe kind of taught me how to be a team player and like how to work within a band too. So
definitely. A big band at that, because I think our rendition of jam band had maybe 13 players in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was big.
Yeah.
13.
Yeah. Wow. Including like vocalists, but yeah.
I see. Wow.
So then, how did it evolve and distill to the core? There's record out October 5th. Means to the Ends. Bright Dog Red. First recording for.
First album.
First publicly released album.
We've done some EPs that we for getting gigs and stuff like that. But this is the first full album.
Gotcha. So how did it get distilled, or is it just sort of like this is the current iteration of Bright Dog Red?
This is what we call the core group. I mean, this is it. We're missing our trumpet player Jarrett Shield couldn't be with us today, Professor Berkeley, but the core group started with Tony and Cody and myself and a couple others who are no longer with us regularly but still affiliated with the group. And we started kind of rehearsing around 2014, thinking that maybe instead of doing these informal jam sessions, we would try to actually get out and play and do maybe do some sessions. And it just kind of clicked. It felt really good. And so we did a festival in the Catskills on a beautiful autumn day. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. 4 people showed up, and it was like we were playing in the outdoors to nobody,
big field, right?
But it was great. And so we're like, all right, this is good. It's a good way to get started, low stakes. And there were more than 4 people there, but it was a really small crowd. And but our next gig, next gig,
get this.
We had a good friend of mine who's been a mentor to me over the years. Jack DeJeanette came, and he brought with him some great musicians, Ben Sermon, Craig Santiago. So there was like, there were suddenly stakes to it because there were people that were interested who were coming to see it. So it was like, well, this could be something. We need to think of it as something. And Jack was so encouraging, and he's been a mentor to me, but he's also been a champion for this band and really encouraging us. So that was great. And then we didn't know where it would go. And then just like one of these great coincidences, a colleague of mine was producing George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, and he's like, you guys ought to come and be my guest and see the band play. You can meet George and his band. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's great. He's like, maybe you could open. So I was like, as our third gig? Yeah, sure. And so, then it was a long waiting period, and we finally got a very, very, very polite, very business-like corporate letter from somebody within Mr. Clinton's organization that said, Mr. Clinton has reviewed the proposal and thinks the music is appropriate. His only requirement is that your set be no more than 40 minutes. That was it. So our third gig was opening for George Clinton, and after that, we started playing, really great venues in New York, like Shapeshifter Lab, which has been terrific to us, and of Matt's helped nurture the band, and Spectrum and New Blue, and so we were a New York band, and we were starting to branch out. We've played Berkeley and Boston, and we're here. We just played Heritage in Philly last night. Yeah,
great show. Great show. Let's talk. Where was the George Clinton gig? That's what. And I kind of want to know like what it was like in the room at that moment, like because I've been to a couple of George Clinton shows.
I love it.
There's just this feeling that mayhem is about to ensue.
It was
like
intense.
that?
Awesome. Well, so
the first thing
it was at the Paramount Hudson Valley Theater, which is in Poughkeepsie, New York. It's a beautiful old historic theater.
It's Peekskill.
Peekskill? Yeah, Peekskill, New York. One of those Hudson Valley kind of old vaudeville theaters that had become a performance space, maybe 1,000-seater or something like that, and there were probably 800 people in the house. So it looked full, it felt full, and I think I think P-Funk has not 800 people in it, but it has a lot of people. So we show up, and the first thing is our little sliver of the green room is not available because they needed it. So we were going to be in an equipment closet. It turned out the equipment closet was a big space, and they set up tables for us. And at some point, somebody from Parliament Funkadelic's entourage, I think it was his grandson maybe, came down with a tray of catering and said, George is really sorry that you've been displaced. He wants you to have catering and feel comfortable if you need the so they were more accommodating to us than we would have ever imagined, which was really great. So that put us at ease, and the sound people worked with us in a way that was really like they were careful about us.
The George Clinton sound check was also great because the guy would just go through and he's going to be like, okay, he's going to jam his microphone in this speaker. Get ready. Because he's basically like warning him like, if you're not paying attention, like, something's going to break.
It was intense. It was intense to watch them work and see the professionalism was really cool. And so they were really great to us. And then, we had to think about our set because our music is all improvised. We did come up with a kind of framework that we rehearsed. And we got it down pretty good, but there was still, each section was improvised, but we knew when to transition, and there were kind of preset rhythmic ideas. And but then we got on stage, and I threw in an extra freestyle chorus and kind of threw that out there, and the guys just rose to the occasion. And I did it because the audience was, they weren't like, this band sucks. They were like, oh, this is kind of interesting, cool, and they were into it. And you can, you start to feel that buzz. You see a full house like that, and it's like, okay, so...
Yeah, and communication wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be on a big stage, because we're usually in like a small, intimate space where we could really see, hear, and feel each other.
The local sound crew and George Clinton's people did so much to make it so that we could hear properly, and our set could be easily, struck afterwards, and then they could come out and do their thing.
Amazing.
Great.
So we didn't know there's a lot of professionalism that goes into controlled chaos or
it's amazing operation.
It's a super fun vibe.
For people who aren't musicians, who might be watching, and for me, can you describe how a typical jazz band or a typical any genre band prepares and performs at a show, and then describe what you do, just to have that contrast? Because you can sit here and say, well, it's all improvised, but and I say, wow, that's cool, but I'm like, I start to reflect back and think, well, how much are other people practicing, right? Like, how much is improvised and not improvised, right? So, what would a typical band be doing when they go on the stage, like a jazz band, let's say?
Anybody? Well, I know one thing. I mean, in contrast to what we do, I feel like I'm really anal retentive about the set list and like song orders, and I try and even each song resolves around the circle of fifths, so it feels like the next song's a resolution for the one before. So it's really like structured, and it's the total opposite, I think, of kind of what we do. We kind of go up there with an idea of what we think it's going to be, and sometimes it takes a life of its own.
So someone will have a set list prepared.
Yeah.
For our shows, or
like a typical band. We'll have it.
Whatnot.
Am I getting this right? We'll have a set list prepared, or they may not have a set list prepared. They may be players that but they have songs that they all know, and when somebody starts into that song, everybody else in the band, appears to have not been paying attention, but they just go right along, right? Okay. So there's structure, and then there's a little bit unstructured, right? Where you might not have a set list, and then of course there's improvisation within a particular song, right? Usually in a solo. I'm talking like a fool here, but I just want to...
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, you're right on.
So, you might see somebody go off. I went to a whole lot of Grateful Dead shows, and so, there was structure, and there was chaos, and then there was some improvisation, a lot of improvisation in between, and then all of a sudden I would see, the rhythm guitarist just try something like, how about this song? So that's somewhat unstructured, right? I thought that was kind of as unstructured as musicians could get.
Right.
But now what you're doing, there is no set list?
No.
There are no songs?
No.
Mike,
So,
how does it differ from like when you've done jazz gigs or when you've blown over tunes? How does it differ?
Well, so to take what you were just saying, I come from fish school.
Which is like nursery school for deadheads.
Oh. Anyhow, so it's a similar thing as far as like there's the tunes, but within each tune, there's a section where it's like this is either the solo or collective improv, and sort of and like my quartet is a very similar thing, where there's like song, but within each song there's the portion of that tune where it's like whatever goes.
Stretch, right?
And so what this band is sort of like the expansion of that section. So we'll take like the improv section and we just sit in that pocket for a while. And how I've explained it to people, and this is how I used to explain the noodly portions of fish shows, is it's a group of musicians, as of last night, the 5 of us, and we're trying to achieve what like a classical orchestra would do. So the ups and downs, the peaks, the valleys, and everything. But we're just making it up, trying to get that same feeling of like build tension, release.
The drama of the performance.
Yeah.
Make it engaging the whole way through.
And rather than here's 100 pages of sheet music, we go in with the technical facility and then just sort of let it go.
Listen.
And you were mentioning
listen,
earlier.
react. It's very, very interactive, as far as like within the 5 of us.
And with
the
crowd as well, as you were mentioning earlier, you kind of have to get a read of like,
getting the energy
people,
off of
people
them.
are getting tired of that, so we can't go full bore. That we got
That's
to
the most
ease back in a
interesting
little
thing.
bit.
Thanks for bringing that up because it really was interesting to me. I went to the show. I read the bio. I knew what to expect, right? And I've heard the album. But what I found was not that the band is improvising at you.
Right.
The band is in the room, not only directly communicating with each other, but at some level, in some way, communicating with all of the people who are listening. Which is a really highly evolved version of Grateful Dead and Fish.
Yeah.
I think sometimes with the improvisation...
Well, it's just a different approach to...
No disrespect intended.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I...
We're like, I don't know if we want to be associated. Can we edit that piece?
I'm all right.
No, but I mean, that's what they were after. So they came from from the structure and stretched out of that structure, but they were after this this interaction.
And those 20-minute jams, there's... Like, you can't just noodle around for 20 minutes without direction. Like, there's got to be the peaks and valleys. And
as an audience member, I went many places and was very connected to that at that point. Yeah.
I think with a lot of improvisational groups, there's sometimes a feeling of antagonism between the band and the audience, and that's something that, like, to be like, we're doing something really crazy. Like, you should appreciate this.
Look at us. We're not you.
And then, but I think
we know how to do that.
Yeah, but I think we all came from a place where we all knew, like, what we did was going to be really strange, or that it wasn't going to be like a normal thing. But we still wanted to have people come out and like enjoy the set and stuff. So we added in. We had a lot of stuff that keeps us grounded, and a lot of that is like the hip hop stuff, and then every once in a while we'll lay back on a beat or something, like gives people something to grab onto. Right. So we're not just, not doing something, like I'm not just like grinding and like playing like white noise the whole time. And like
I played a festival in Israel in 2013 or 14, and doing the sound check, and sound checking is very monotonous for drummers. It's like dome, 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 cut, and you
snare,
and then, but then at some point, whoever's doing the sound asks you to play a little bit. So I'm sort of playing around with the kit and warming up and kind of chops around the kit, and like there's like, a whole bunch of people there in the setup. And like there's a few people who are like real musician freaks who are like watching me, sort of go around the kit. And then I just like, all right, I feel warm. And so I just lay down this big fat rock beat in 4/4. And suddenly the whole crew working is like, as they're working. And it's just like, yeah, I think I need more of that. Because that's cool. And that's the way you connect with people. It's great to improvise, and we do a lot of crazy things, and it's fun. And people will go with us because we also try to think, where are they at? What are they looking for? Like when we opened for George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic, people were looking to dance. They wanted to move. So it was very rhythmic, and it was very much about...
to dance.
Yeah, and for us to get up there and not give them that would almost be a disrespect to the audience, and certainly to George Clinton and P-Funk. So we look at the room and we say, okay, what can we do that's authentic to us that would make sense or might make sense in this space? And then we go from there. And it's, we've done it in a lot of different contexts.
Well, I feel like you can't play in 13/8 for 10 minutes because it's going to kind of alienate people that don't latch onto it.
Yeah, unless you're like a Spectrum or something like that.
In our culture, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so there's got to be some pairings, and I'm gonna bring this back around to you because there's got to be some pairings. So everybody knows bass player and drummer are gonna kind of, that's like an almost like is that your primary connection as you guys start playing?
Oh, sure.
Right. You guys are mostly listening to each other, and then it moves out from there. What is everybody else listening to? Are you also... Go ahead.
I listen to the drums, Mike, and then in much more specific, like arrangement type circumstances, I listen to Cully. So just to make room for him when he comes in, then I start doing a more hip-hop, like sample, like hits. But I play off Mike and the drums.
That's where I'm trying to get to. Is like, are you listening to everybody and responding? And are people listening to you and responding to you? Because that's really got to be the most challenging.
Every show I find myself focusing on something else. Last night I was playing a lot of like sax parts, and then he would play off me. I would maybe start a melody, and then he would pick up on it, and then I'd try to change it a little bit, and then see what he changed. And I was responding a lot to the sax, not even in necessarily like a call and response way, but like this weird kind of counterpoint stuff. And then
we were catching a lot of like melodic,
just
phrasing
little
things.
motifs that we were changing in a really nice way.
How did the words come to you though?
I don't know. I freestyle. Man. I don't know how I started freestyling as like a 12-year-old, like white kid in Catholic school. I think I freestyled before I listened to rap.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my parents wouldn't let me listen to rap, and my dad's a Deadhead. So a lot of Grateful Dead, and my mom didn't listen to much music at all. But I don't know. I've always said for a while I could freestyle better than I could write.
Do you write before you go on? Do you have some concepts and some ideas
I mean,
at all? Or
a lot of times, like last night, I was rapping about there's for some reason a guy with the unicycle in the venue. When he was leaving, the unicycle became, a vocabulary motif of some sort. And, but sometimes I don't know. I'll have like ideas and I'll get inspired whatever city we're in, or I just go for a walk. But I don't know. I have a lot of like general motifs that I go back on to, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I listen to just about everything. But every show seems to be one person I latch onto a good bit.
It's very, like, conversational, I think.
And if you're, like having, like, a conversation with Cully, like, I might be responding off of what you're doing.
Well, it's very much... It's completely very much just, like this, like... Circular. Bouncing ideas off of each other, and someone will take the lead at some point, and then someone else... You'll get an idea from me, I'll get an idea from him, and it'll... Yeah.
I have to listen to it all because I have to kind of like the changes are. I'm usually driving the changes, but I'm not driving them. Sometimes I'm driving them completely out of the blue just for fun, and it's because Tony's a great bass player and he follows me so well. When I make
it's like
if I make an abrupt change, Tony's just right there somehow always. But I hear them going in a way like maybe they're latched on something, they're having trouble getting out of it, and I'll say, okay, where can that lead? Or they're pushing to go someplace else. So then the drumming can be people lock into it. So if I hear something coming, all right, I got to go there. And then also I I do call out to them a lot on the bandstand. Say, Cully, freestyle without anything else, and then everybody else gets quiet.
Tony, play a lullaby.
Tony, play a lullaby. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we can. We're going to have to wrap up soon, but I don't think I can end this without saying like you have to go to a Bright Dog Red show and check out Tony's Bass Face.
Yeah.
He's in it. It's a delightful thing to watch. I think there's time. We could do an hour, but we gotta keep these things in digestible chunks for people. Maybe we'll do a second one at some point. Cool. I want to thank you all for doing what you do, for teaching me and everybody new things, and wish you great success on the road.
And thank you.
Thank you.
To you.